Wanya Morris is the pick for the Kansas City Chiefs at pick 92. They trade up with division or conference rivals, the Cincinnati
Fraud
Bengals,
goals.
in a small move. Oh, I'm sorry, the Fraud Goals. That's a very good point. My bad. They trade back to 95. The Chiefs move up to 92. They make sure that they are securing their tackle, Wanya Morris. You mentioned a little bit before about Nick Saldiveri and about Jalen Duncan.
Yes.
And those were two guys that you really liked.
Yes.
And we're kind of in this pocket along with Wanya Morris. Those two guys, you said something about arm length with Nick Saldiveri. I think that's a very good point.
Well, it's even more prominent for Jalen Duncan, too.
Well, and there's that, too. But also, like, one thing about Jalen Duncan, he's not been the cleanest prospect through this process. A lot of buzz about some off-field stuff, some football character concerns that teams are having with Jalen Duncan.
Yeah.
So that hasn't really been the case with Wanya Morris. That hasn't been something that they have, had to worry about. So when you're cluster busting, when you're looking at that in this pocket, I see the logic behind why they chose to go with Wanya Morris in this instance.
I mean, almost everything you would use to start breaking down the difference between those players, if you have them tiered similarly, they're all going to point to Wanya Morris being the pick over the others.
Yeah.
Arm length, edge him. Overall size, edge him. Scheme fit with what the Chiefs do just in terms of being the most powerful of that group, getting beat the least through his chest or inside shoulder. Wanya Morris, football character as far as we know, Wanya Morris. Like, I get why the Chiefs chose him over the other guys, even if I would have preferred the other two guys better or had them graded slightly higher. I get the Chiefs fit there. This is one of those times where I might like a player better, but I absolutely follow the path to why the Chiefs would have that kind of flipped or not be in on the other guys at all.
Hey, guys, if Andy Heck decides to hang it up at any time soon, Bill Bedenbaugh is almost a lock to come to Kansas City. He's been at Oklahoma as their offensive line coach since 2013. So, yeah, you think that they like the way that he trains his guys? Another guy that comes out of that program that plays the way that Andy Reid likes his offense to play. I think he's going to slot right in. I don't know if he's going to win the starting job by any means here. I don't want to say that, but he's going to compete. I think he's really going to push for that right tackle job.
I think it's worth talking about the right tackle job here now. Lucas Niang is the incumbent, and we've talked a little bit about Lucas Niang. They trusted him to be able to play in the Super Bowl in a crucial moment in the Super Bowl on a 3rd and goal on Sky Moore's touchdown. They tried the tackle eligible play. When we've talked about this so many times, they trusted him. Like, there is a vote of confidence there for Lucas Niang, but I don't think it precluded him from looking in every single round of this draft to address the tackle position.
I would agree with that.
If you had told me that Darnell Wright was the pick at 31, if you'd fallen, if you told me like they went tackle as early as pick 31, wouldn't have been remotely surprised.
Not at all.
I understand that, that they've had some level and vote of confidence in Lucas Niang, but they took a top 100 pick to make sure that they added an offensive tackle into the mix.
For sure. They definitely wanted to come out and get a guy to add the competition. They wanted to get someone to come in there. And I mean, I believe Brett Veach straight up said they wanted competition for Lucas Niang, and this is the route they decided to go. They went and decided to go get a Wanya Morris in this spot. And I think this trade up and the fact that they did it this early lets you know that, like, hey, yeah, we want competition, but I'm not entirely sure that this means Lucas Niang's a lock here. I think it's a pretty open competition here.
Yeah, it absolutely is an open competition. And I think the other thing that this means, guess what? Juwan Taylor's playing left tackle. There was a lot of conversation leading up. Is he going to play right tackle? Is he going to play left tackle? We saw the videos of him working out at left tackle. The Chiefs have told us he's going to play left tackle. But at the same time, Andy Reid kind of hinted a little bit. It's like, we'll see. We'll see where he's going to play. Had the flexibility to play both. Wanya Morris is a right tackle. And I think he's going to line up at right tackle. That means Juwan Taylor is locked in at left tackle. This is a good offensive line, guys. It's a really good offensive line. And one remaining questions was going to be not just right tackle, but offensive tackle depth, because they haven't been able to count on guys due to injury. Wanya Morris has been fairly healthy and a good football player, raises the floor significantly in that room.
We mentioned Duke Manyweather, who is training Wanya Morris, and it doesn't hurt to be working with BJ Kissel right now, who just has a good line with Duke Manyweather. He's going to be really good, says Duke Manyweather. He's a freak athlete. His best football is ahead of him. That's the 4th guy from Big Duke Manyweather's program that has been selected in the top 100 picks. They are a factory. The Chiefs have had a lot of success going to the Duke Manyweather well, and they've grabbed another player.
That is an understatement.
So one thing that's kind of interesting to me about Wanya Morris, and like I think we all thought, like this seems like a Andy Reid, Andy Heck type offensive lineman, but you know, we've seen this team depart at times a little bit from, you know, some of the zone stuff, some of the wide zone stuff, some of the movement skills. And maybe a little bit of it was out of necessity, but they also had a lot of success like running gap.
Yeah.
And now we're going back to another guy who's a little bit on the slender side, 307, 6'5", 307, 35-inch arms. He's not necessarily like a massive, even Jawan Taylor, another athletic, not necessarily a people mover in the run game.
Yeah.
You've got really athletic tackles now.
Yeah. Chiefs have had some success with some athletic tackles.
No, for sure. It's just interesting. It's just interesting because like that wasn't necessarily the MO, you know, with Orlando Brown Jr. and then they went to Trey Smith, but now like it's almost across the board. I mean, Trey Smith a little bit, but Trey Smith is still a good athlete.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's just different. The composition is different.
Wanya Morris seems more like a power player. I get that you're saying he's slender, but he plays like a power player more to me. The athleticism doesn't always show up to me. I actually think that I was surprised how light he was because he looks bigger on film.
He does.
And he looks like he moves like a bigger player on film, especially moving backwards or laterally. Now, once he opens up his hips to pull or you climb straight to the second level, very explosive, good range. But when I watch him play and get into a phone booth, that's where I think he's at his best. Like, I actually think he is a little bit more of a power player. So putting him next to a Trey Smith makes sense. And then if you still want to pull him around, you very much can do that. To your overall point, though, Taylor is not a power player, like, at all as a run blocker. Joe Tooney can do everything, but I would say he's more nimble than anything else. Then Creed and Trey can just do whatever you ask them to do in that regard, right? So I think they're pretty versatile along the offensive line now, actually. That's more what I'd go with. Now, Lucas Niang would be the guy I think that has the most limited range. That guy definitely has the least amount of range, I think, of all these guys.
For sure. But at the same time, like, you're okay with that. You can work with a guy. Like, and now
no concerns.
No concerns at all. Now you've got a set of 5 guys that can maybe do a little bit of everything, have that athletic tackle. Listen, they tried it on. They tried that shirt on for size to see, can we get away with length, maybe a little less foot speed at our tackle position, and still get away with Patrick Mahomes being protected? They have screamed it at you this offseason. They obviously did not want to do that any longer. Didn't even extend a franchise tag out to Orlando Brown Jr., go out and sign a very athletic individual in Jawan Taylor. Now go get another guy with a good set of athleticism that hasn't been fully unlocked yet in Wanya Morris. They are protecting themselves up the arc and protecting Patrick Mahomes.
Wanya Morris, 6'5", 307, 35 and an 8-inch arms. And 10 and a quarter inch hands. Let me pull those up again real quick just to confirm, because I want to. You'll see where I'm going with this in a second.
Yeah.
It's 35 and an 1/8 inch arms and 10 and a quarter inch hands. Jawan Taylor is 6'5", 312, 35 and an 1/8 inch arms and 10-inch hands. So that's what his combine measurements were coming out. So they've kind of paired the physical profiles and mirrored them on both sides of their offensive line now. So both tackles have eerily similar physical profiles for the position, and so that's intriguing as well. There.
Some other stuff is coming from the KCSN draft guide here. Wanya Morris, 22 years old, turns 23 in October.
Yep.
Okay, so still relatively young here. High fit in the KCSN draft guide.
High fit.
And his player comp was Greg Little, who was coming out of Ole Miss. So if a lot of people remember, another high-profile player that, similar to Wanya Morris, never lived up to the star potential coming out of high school, but gave you enough flashes. The Carolina Panthers took him pretty early.
Yep.
He has struggled a little bit more to latch on, I think, in the NFL right now, but I think Wanya Morris was more up on an incline a little bit more. He was playing better coming out than Greg Little was, so I understand all that. I think that's a pretty good comparison for a high-fit offensive tackle to come in and compete pretty early on.
I do want to say, Brandon Thorne, offensive line guru, I trust a lot of his things, says Wanya Morris going to the Chiefs is a perfect, in all caps, perfect landing spot for him to continue the upwards trend that he got under Coach Bedenbaugh, now going to Andy Heck. He loves that. I'll tell you what, we love it as well, but when you see a guy like Brandon Thorne come out and love it as much as we do, it's a good pick. It's a really good pick.
I mean, yeah, and you see, again, like the Chiefs have gone to the Duke Manyweather well and had some success. Like, I love this pick.
I do too.
I think this is my favorite pick of this draft so far, I think.
I mean, pretty easily.
I know it's Maddie's, but yes. Yeah.
We're
it's
aware
a
of
good
that,
pick.
Matthew.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
But this is a strong selection for them.
Absolutely.
And I like it. I think it disrupt. I don't want to say it disrupts the tackle competition, but you know, we talked about Darian Kennard, and he had a little bit of training, right guard or guard tackle training, right?
Yes.
Who is working very hard with Duke Manyweather right now as well, looking good.
And he sees himself as an offensive tackle.
Correct.
I can say that
You
came
can
straight from him.
confirm that?
Yeah. So you've got Lucas Niang, who actually played tackle when they needed him to. You've got Darian Kennard, who played kind of back and forth guard tackle last season, and now you've got a high pick, a top 100 pick, involved
Another
in that competition.
Yeah.
And Prince Sigawanagu, who they feel like keeping around. They like to keep him around to compete and play both sides. I mean, out of all these guys mentioned, right, he's the one guy that we have seen play left tackle for the Chiefs a little bit, like it's just in preseason and in training camp. But he's the one guy that we've seen really play left tackle too. So, like, I don't even think you can rule him out of this offensive tackle room at this point in time.
I don't think so either. I love the depth. There's going to be a guy that is not making this roster at that offensive tackle position that should be on a roster. But that's a good problem for the Chiefs to have.
I wonder. I'm not saying I question Lucas Niang's fit entirely now, but I'm just like, I don't know. It just feels like
we'll see. It's going to be a great competition. Camp's going to be fun.
They've deviated away from a specific profile.
Yeah.
They've identified a specific profile for both of their newest tackles. That's interesting to me.
It's not like Lucas Niang, when healthy, was a plotter, though.
No.
He wasn't a plotter.
He's got like
he just wasn't a guy that opened his hips up and pulled around the court. I think he had a different type of athleticism. Lucas Niang climbing to the second level was pretty fast, and he really moved guys in the process. Like, I don't know if his fit doesn't make sense, especially next to Trey Smith. It's just, what does he look like post-injury? And I agree with you. If you want to pull your tackles, I obviously think Wanya Morris is a lot better, seeming he did it like 5 times a game in Oklahoma.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like where we're at. I'd like to let's just go around the board and maybe just give it a quick grade.
Yeah.
A quick grade on Wanya Morris.
A for me. Absolutely an A. They waited out the pocket at offensive tackle. Wasn't a big run in day 2 like we maybe thought there might be, especially with all those offensive tackles going early. This is a really good value for Wanya Morris. I think it's the perfect fit in Kansas City. I think that he's going to be a very good player here. It's an A.
I'm torn between a B+ and an A- here. I think the value is pretty spot on, so it's about what I would have, and normally that would kind of put it in a C+ range. I'm a harsh grader. C is not a bad what I'm going for here, but I like the player. I think the fit's really, really good, so I'm kind of torn right between B+ and A-. I think I'm going to trust the Duke Manyweather connection. I'm going to trust the fact that I like who he works out with, and I think there's been a lot of success there for not just the Chiefs, but everybody in the NFL. I will let who he works out with bump that up to an A- just because I trust that tree.
Go ahead and give me an A- as well. I think that's where I'm evaluating it as well. This is a very, very good football player. It's a great fit. Oklahoma offensive lineman. There's been a lot of successful offensive linemen
They tend to work out
coming out of Oklahoma, and the Chiefs just grabbed another one of those guys. You know, I wonder if just because he's more, I think he's probably a right tackle specific.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably not a left tackle for teams.
DeJuan Jones still on the board at the time that the Chiefs make this pick. So it's not like teams are valuing right tackles in this draft in a big way.
So I'll give it an A-. I think. I think that's about the fair value. I think this is my favorite pick so far from this football team. I think it makes a lot of sense. He gets to play with Trey Smith again. Another Duke Manyweather product. So he's probably familiar with some of those guys on the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line already. There's probably been some good reports that they've probably heard from some of the guys in that building in their offseason training. I'm a fan of the move. Wanya Morris at pick 92 is the new offensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Woo! You love to see it. That's a great pick. we're pretty excited about it.